Alrighty guys, so today's gonna be a pretty exciting video. We have OBS, Bryce's OBS in the shop, and we are getting ready to do a super cool build with this truck. He's got an Instagram and a YouTube channel as well as a website, so we'll leave all the links over here, all the handles. But this is, like I said, one of my favorite builds, OBS builds, because it's got a lot of cool custom touches to it that Bryce did himself, and he's trusting us to do the suspension part of this build, which is going to be to date the biggest, baddest, coolest OBS we've done in this shop. Now before we get to that part of the video where we talk about the build plans, I'm going to do a walk around in this truck because, again, like I said, super cool truck, very interesting, really a lot of really custom touches, and I don't know where I'm pointing, but it's got some really cool prototype headlights. Well, they're not prototype anymore, they're in the market, but I'm pretty sure those were some of the first headlights that an OBS truck got. So I guess let's start from the front. Beginning with that bumper. That is I want to say a first gen Raptor bumper, maybe second gen, that he customized to get it to work on the OBS truck. Just off the top of my head, I know that he made this fill plate to get rid of that really ugly gap that you would have otherwise. I believe he also made those fill plates on the holes, which again look super cool. And then obviously he adapted it to actually work with the OBS truck. Second part is this grill that he designed, builds, and sells on his website. Again, we'll have that link over here somewhere. It's super cool. Obviously, it's got these lights on it. I believe all three light up, as well as the Ford logo. Not exactly sure how he gets everything to light up, and I don't want to mess with it too much. But again, he's got all of that going on. The next part would be these headlights. I absolutely love these headlights, and you guys might not have seen them yet, because again, they literally just dropped, I think over the weekend. By far right now, my absolute favorite OBS headlights on the market. They are, I mean, they're truly like anything else that's on the market right now. They've got this super cool quad projector design. They've got that, what they call it, like that C-clamp or whatever design that was inspired by the newer Super Duties. So that is, as you saw on the previous video, previous clip, it's a DRL and a turn signal all in one. So again, super cool. You can get these in a more basic headlight, which is just a dual projector, not the quad projector like this one is. But regardless, it's super cool headlights by Alpharex. I almost totally forgot to say the company. Alpharex is the one that came out with these headlights, and again, gorgeous headlights. He's got the matching taillights that we'll show you here in a little bit, but again, love them. Okay, so we've got these ginormous wheels and tires. I believe it's a 26 by 14, 16 on a 37. Now, as far as I'm aware, I believe he's going to be going to a different tire setup. I think he's keeping the wheels. Don't quote me. So, again, really stands out. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I like it. I definitely would run a wider tire, but other than that, I like it. Another really cool touch that he did to this truck that I really like, that is actually super hard to tell, but he actually trimmed this back, this molding, but like kept the original lip, which I think looks super clean. So on a typical OBS, this body line, this line goes kind of straight down like this and then over. So what he did is cut out a couple inches out of here, but left this lip and then kind of just bent it back, I guess, from like right about here, you can kind of tell. And again, that allows for a lot more clearance for these big wheels and tires. Now again, the next custom thing that he did were these Super Duty F350 badges that he, I guess, recessed into the fender. And again, it looks super cool, super custom. The bodywork is obviously not even started, so everything's kind of roughed in, but still looks really cool. And again, this is just all stuff that he did in his driveway. He's got the Duramax mirrors. again, cool thing. Let me see. We've got power running steps. Again, super cool, and definitely really needed when, especially with how high we're going to be going with this truck. So cool touch. The interior is like next to impossible to film because it's so dark. So give me a sec. All right, so I guess we'll start from the beginning, which would be the door panels. He actually did quite a bit of work to these things to one, fix them and then get them looking pretty cool. He did this custom trim down here and added a speaker to it. He also, I believe he remade this entire pad and reupholstered it. I think, yeah, all of this. Then he wrapped all of the trim. I believe it's wrapped in what's like a forged carbon wrap that I think looks super cool. From there we got some custom sill plates. Now these, I believe, were made by Classic Truck Parts. I believe is what the name of the company is called right now, but I think they discontinued them if I'm not mistaken, which is a bummer because they're super cool. And again, they're wrapped in that same forged carbon wrap that he did the rest of the trim in. So like all of that, got some billet knobs for the headlights, and obviously the F-150, I believe it's an F-150 steering wheel. I've been following Bryce pretty much from the beginning, almost from the time that he bought this truck. One of the first videos that I remember watching are him doing the bumper swap on it. And he did a lot of work to get this steering wheel to work with the column, and again, looks super cool. He doesn't have the buttons working yet, so don't ask. But it's something that he will be working on, getting them to actually work with the radio and everything else that he can get them to work with. He's got a Boss head unit. It's pretty cool. Me personally, I'm a really fan of the drawing head units, like the ones that I have in all my trucks, but those are pretty cool too. Now let's see what else. He's got a set of, these are like GM seats. Same with the center console. Again, all custom brackets that he did himself. Everything's super nice and sturdy, works really well. And it's the same for the rear seats. Now, he also did this custom star light, or whatever you call these headliners. So it's kind of like that sway pattern, and then you have all of the, did you see the shooting star? Yeah, you have all of the lights on top, which I think look super cool. Really big fan of this. I actually would love to do this in one of my crew cab trucks. I think it will look absolutely sick. That's the lit up door handles, which I think are super cool. I actually have a set of these that will pretty soon be installing on my single cab, but again, those look killer. Absolutely love the look of those things. Oh, and by the way, the mirrors obviously light up like they should. Turn signal works. I believe even those LEDs work. Same with that turn signal arrow, all work. Power running boards, again, super cool. I'm gonna be saying cool a lot throughout this video. I'm sorry, but it's just a really cool truck. And I believe that's it for up to the cab section. The rear end doesn't really have that many custom touches to it. These are the Alpha Rex tail lights. Again, love these things. Completely different from anything else that's in the market. Super cool. He also has the tailgate panel from, again, Custom Truck Parts. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it's discontinued, but I mean, go check them out. They might still have a few. But again, these tail lights, I mean, they're just completely different from anything else that's in the OBS market, and I absolutely love them. I definitely got to get a set of these for the single cab. I'm not sure what bumper this is, but it looks great. I think he also did a lot of I think he trimmed all of this to fit properly with the truck and all of that. And it looks great. He does have a set of train horns underneath this thing. I haven't tried them out yet, and honestly, I'm a little bit afraid. But yeah, I think overall, that's all, most of the really custom touches that are done to this truck. Alrighty guys, so we just did the walk around on Bryce's truck. Again, love his truck, super cool. I love all the custom touches that were done to it, but now it's our turn to get started with it, and we're gonna start by obviously removing the lug nuts on the truck. And actually, one tip that I want to give you guys is if you've got nice wheels like the ones that are in this truck, one thing that we always like doing is taping the lug nut key to the socket to make sure that we don't drop it. And we actually tape the socket to the extension, again, to make sure that we don't have any accidents where we drop a socket or anything and damage the wheels. So we just take a little bit of tape and tape the extension to the socket and the socket to the key, and that way we know for sure there's not going to be any problems, nothing's going to get scratched or whatnot. Again, just a quick little precaution that we like taking to make sure that everything is good to go. Then we actually like to break loose the wheel studs with the breaker bar instead of the impact. This again will minimize accidents, and it'll keep us from marring up the wheel lugs or anything like that. The next step is going to be to actually take off the bumper. Now this will do two things for us. It'll allow access to the inside of the frame rail to place that bolt for the track bar bracket, and it'll also open up the place that we'd like to put our jack stands on. So again, we'll take off the bumper and we'll throw the truck on jack stands. One awesome thing about working with trucks is that you can always use the bed as your own little mini storage unit for the parts that you take off while you're working on it. So that's what we're doing right now, throwing the bumper in the bed. I get asked about these jack stands quite a bit. So these, if you haven't seen it in one of my previous videos, we actually built these jack stands in-house. I've also been asked if we're going to sell these. Not at the moment. We still have quite a few upgrades in plan for them before we decide to offer them to the public, but they definitely do come in handy. And I mean, you can build a big truck with these things. The only hard thing would be actually getting them on the jack stands, but if you guys can tell from this clip, they're actually at the lowest adjustment. We could almost go almost 2 feet higher than this. Not sure I would ever want to, but again, I've made them with enough adjustment to be able to do stuff like that. Another thing that they're great for is actually working on axles. We like throwing the axles on them and cleaning them, painting them, all that stuff. They're great for that as well. Okay guys, so if you're wondering if 14, 16 whites, like those bad boys, are rough on your OBS steering, let's ask the drag link how it liked it. As you can tell, that thing should not be bowed out that bad, and as you can see, yeah, I don't think this drag link likes those. I think they're 16 wides, 14 wides. I don't know, they're big boys. That's one of the reasons why we love upgrading to 05 Plus axles, even from OBS Dana 60s, because the newer axles are just so much beefier overall. Once we get these, because this truck came with an OBS Dana 60. As soon as I get this thing out, I'll take it over to the newer axles and I'll show you just the difference that there is between both of these axles. But anyways, I'm gonna keep tearing down this truck. And yeah. Alrighty, so when we again tear down these trucks, we like to start from the top up, disconnecting everything that is connected to the frame and to the axles. So we take off the shocks, we actually take off the whole track bar bracket off of the cross member instead of just the track bar. Again, we disconnect the sway bar, the drag link from the pitman arm, we take that off. Again, everything that's holding the axle to the frame. The last thing that will take off is the actual leaf springs. And in this case, because I didn't have my axle stands available, we just used the jacks. So we took off one side of the leaf at a time and then just carefully dropped the axle until it was all the way down. Alrighty guys, so we've got the front axle suspension completely removed from Bryce's truck, and essentially from this point, all you would need to do is remove your shock tower, which is just 4 bolts, super nice. Remove your front shackle, which is 1 more bolt right there, and then remove the rear leaf spring hanger. So that's going to be, I believe, 6 rivets. So that's going to be the hardest part. Also, you got to remove this bump stop, but again, only 2 bolts. So super easy from this point to get the rest of the truck torn apart and ready for the 05 Plus axles. You were doing just the regular 05 Plus axle swap. Once you got all of those parts removed, I would highly suggest that you clean the frame, spray paint it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, like I said, the difference between the OBS Dana 60, which is what we have here, and the 05 Plus. Specifically this one, this is an 08 Dana 60, and like I said, it's a ginormous difference and upgrade going from this setup to that setup, which is why honestly I personally wouldn't put the money into that axle. And I'm not just saying this because obviously I make the parts. Even before I made any of these parts and even thought about having this business, when I first did my swap, I had 2 options, because my truck also had one of these. Was either sink a few $1,000, $1,000 or so, I think it was over $1,000, into completely getting rebuilt, or just upgrading it to the 05 Plus. And in my mind, and I think I'm still right, I think it was a way better call to go with the 05 Plus axle. So let me show you why. We'll start from the end and we'll work our way inside. The OBS Dana 60s, they have your regular wheel bearings, and your brakes are, I guess, behind the hub. So if you got to do a brake job and got to replace your rotors, you literally got to take off your whole hub to take your rotor, which it's a, in my mind, it's a ginormous pain in the butt compared to these axles. So these axles, if you're going to do a brake job, you literally remove your wheel and then you pull off your caliper, your rotors. That's it. Like, that's all you got to do. That's the way a brake job should be. And then obviously the rear also has discs, and it's the same process. You remove the wheel and you pull the rotor. That's it. No having to mess with drum brakes or anything. Super easy. Again, the OBS, you got to remove your wheel, you got to remove your hub, you got to separate the hub from the rotor, and then you can change your rotors. Like, that's me, that was always a big pain in the butt. I hated that. I hated that. And then if you got to do wheel bearings, you got to pull out your wheel bearings, you got to do new races, all that stuff, repack them, all of that. And to me, again, that was a big pain in the butt. Now, this is something that a lot of people disagree or don't like, but the 05 Plus axles, they have unit bearings. So it's like I said, it's a unit. The whole hub, the bearing comes in a unit, and then it's not serviceable. You got to replace the whole thing. So you can't repack them with grease, you can't do any of that. And they are quite expensive. I believe last time that I did them on my axles, they were like $500, I think. I mean, they were pricey. They were pretty pricey. I will give you that. But it's just way easier, and I like easy. Working our way in, the knuckles, the C's, everything. It's kind of hard to show you in video, but like, trust me, all of this is way beefier. Like, look at all that meat right there. And then look at this. Like, I'm telling you, this axle, even though they're both technically Dana 60s, this axle makes that axle look like a Dana 44. I'm not kidding. Your joints, your axle shafts, everything is bigger on this axle. Obviously, coil springs, leaf springs. Oh, and I guess while we're here, the 05 Plus Dana 60 has a way tighter turning radius than the OBS Dana 60, especially if you upgrade to the 05 Plus gearbox as well. That way you can take full advantage of that tighter turning radius that you'll get with the 05 Plus axles. Working our way back, the tube way thicker on that one than this one, so it's kind of hard to see, but let me get some calipers. So we're looking at about 3 1/8, more or less, about 3 1/8. Let's do the 08 Dana 60. 3 3/4. So again, that is quite the difference between the two. You also get way bigger brakes with the 05 Plus compared to the Dana 60. Again, those look tiny compared to these brakes. Bigger U-joint on the yoke, which I guess really doesn't matter because you got to use a conversion U-joint unless you switch out your entire drive shaft. But I mean, you do have right there a 1350 U-joint versus a 1330, so bigger U-joint. And again, all of the, so obviously Bryce's axle, he already started doing a high steer setup on this thing, but all of the 05 Plus steering is way bigger than the OBS, and that should help you not have this problem with the drag link. In my opinion, if you're planning to build a big lifted truck, either if it's just a show truck or if you're actually planning to do an off-road build, if you're planning to do an off-road build, for sure consider doing an axle swap over keeping that. But even with the show build, again, that drag link was bent like that from those big old wheels and tires. So either definitely upgrade your steering to an HD steering setup. I believe Carry Customs has a really nice HD steering kit for these axles. The 05 Plus will pretty much already give you that. Like everything is way beefier with these axles. And I know that I'm sounding like a salesman, and I hate doing that, but I know you guys, I get asked a lot, like, what are the benefits of going to the 05 Plus axles? Everything is a benefit. The whole thing is just way stronger, way beefier. I personally wouldn't spend the money upgrading this axle when I could just swap to that other one. That's to me personally. And again, that's the thought that I had like 4 or 5 years ago when I first did my first swap, and I haven't changed. And I mean, with the 250 that has a TTB, it's a no-brainer just upgrading to that. Now that we talked about the benefits of going to the 05 Plus setup over this, now obviously you get coil springs and you have a much bigger aftermarket support for those axles compared to that. But I guess it's time to talk about the actual build that we've got planned for Bryce's truck. And like I mentioned, this truck to date will be by far the biggest, baddest OBS build that we've done in this shop. It might actually be bigger than the square body. So essentially what we have in mind for this truck is going to be, we're doing at least an 8-inch lift on it. It's going to get a cradle with the 4-link for the front. The front axle is getting a truss, and then we're going to make a custom track bar bracket and track bar for it to kind of work with that bigger lift and the axle and all of that stuff. So again, that's going to be part of that whole build. Like I said, it's getting a cradle with the 4-link. The rear is where it's going to get pretty freaking cool and trick. One thing is that we're not going to have the squat on this truck anymore. We're going to level it out. And the one thing that I'm super excited about doing the rear end of this truck is that we're actually doing air ride on the rear. So the rear is going to get 4-linked with a track bar bracket as well, with a track bar as well, and air ride. And I'm super excited about that because I've always wanted to do an air ride setup, and we finally have the chance to do that with this truck. So again, the rear is going to get airbags. The front, just coils, 4-link front and rear. Again, the rear is also going to get, the rear axle is also going to get a truss on it with the built-in track bar bracket with the built-in track bar, I guess, mounting point for it. This is a project that we are doing in collaboration with OBS Bryce. So what OBS Bryce is doing is that he's doing the design work. So he's designing the cradle and the trusses for the axles. And again, we're going to be doing the fabrication for the truck. And again, we are super, super excited about this because, like I've been mentioning, we want to better cover the entire OBS market. I really, truly think that we have the best axle swap kit right now, with that being just a basic axle swap kit. What we're going to be able to do with this truck is kind of cover more of the high lift, show truck type of builds. That's kind of the idea for this truck. And again, super, super excited to be working with Bryce. Again, he's doing a lot of the design work. We're going to go over everything, make sure that everything works properly and is up to the standards that we always do here at the shop, which again, Bryce is a really, really good designer. So I know that all of those parts are going to be top notch. I've already been going over all the designs that he sent me, kind of making sure that everything's going to work. And over the next couple of months, we're going to be actually building this truck. And again, so excited over this thing. You guys, I know you guys are going to love it. Now, we're obviously still going to finish the green truck. Once the green truck's done, we're going to be pulling in the red truck and starting that build, which I'm also really excited about that. But we'll talk about that in a completely different video once we start working on it. But yeah, guys, for now, that's going to be it. The next video is going to be on the green truck. We should also have a couple more trucks coming in for just regular axle swaps. So once those come in, we might film those. We don't always film our axle swaps, but the two trucks that we got coming in are actually pretty cool, pretty interesting. So if we can, I'll try and make a video on those trucks too. Hopefully you guys are as excited about this build as we are. If you are, leave a like, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe because again, guys, we're just getting started. We're gonna start doing so many cool stuff, just like this build, the next couple of swaps that we got coming over. So again, this is a great time to subscribe. So don't forget to hit that button wherever it's at, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and we'll see you for the next one.